A CEO walks into his own store wearing a beat-up baseball cap and jeans that have seen better days. Nobody gives him a second glance. Not the teenage cashier scrolling through her phone. Not the security guard nodding off by the entrance. Definitely not the manager who's supposed to be keeping this place running smoothly. He's here for a reason, though. Something's been nagging at him. The numbers don't add up. Corporate keeps getting these perfect reports from this location. Perfect scores across the board. 0 issues. 0 complaints. But his gut tells him something's wrong. And then he hears it. The sound of someone breaking down completely. Raw, desperate crying echoing from the employee bathroom. The kind of crying that doesn't stop when you try to muffle it. The kind that comes from a place so deep, you know this person's entire world is collapsing. Through the gap under the door, he spots a name badge lying on the wet floor. Maria Santos. Custodial staff. He freezes. 3 months back, this store sent in glowing reports. Everyone's happy. Everything's perfect. But that woman behind the door? She's telling a completely different story. Standing there under those harsh lights, one question burns through his mind. If this is happening right here in his own company, what else has he been missing? What he's about to discover will make him question everything he thought he knew about running a business. And the next 48 hours? They're going to change his entire life. So Marcus does something most CEOs would never do. He knocks on that bathroom door. Gentle. Not demanding. Just checking in like a human being. The crying stops immediately. There's shuffling. Someone trying to pull themselves together fast. A voice comes through, shaky and embarrassed. She's fine, she says. Just needs a minute. But everything about her voice screams that she's nowhere close to fine. This is someone hanging on by a thread. When the door finally opens, Marcus sees a woman who looks completely exhausted. Early 40s. Small frame. Custodial uniform wrinkled like she's been wearing it forever. Her eyes are swollen and red. And when she bends down to grab that name badge, her hands are shaking so badly she can barely pick it up. She apologizes immediately. Doesn't even look at him. Just whispers that she shouldn't be doing this. She needs to get back to work. Like crying in a bathroom is some kind of crime. Marcus takes a closer look. This woman's hands are destroyed. Cracked and raw from harsh chemicals. She's got dark circles under her eyes that tell the story of someone working multiple jobs and never getting enough sleep. But what really catches his attention is the way she flinches when footsteps echo from the main floor. That's not just exhaustion. That's fear. He introduces himself as Mike. New guy. Just started today. Keeps it simple. Maria looks up at him, trying to figure out if this stranger is safe to talk to. And then, like a dam breaking, her shoulders just drop. Everything's falling apart, she tells him. Her daughter Sophia has a heart condition that's getting worse. She needs surgery. And Maria can't afford it. She catches herself mid-sentence, shaking her head. Apologizing again for dumping her problems on a complete stranger. Marcus asks how long she's been working here. 3 years, she says. Never missed a single day. Never been late. Not once. But lately, things have changed. She gestures toward a bulletin board covered in work schedules that look like a complete disaster. He follows her eyes and his stomach drops. The schedule is chaos. Shifts crossed out. Hours reduced. Handwritten changes everywhere. Maria's name appears randomly. 20 hours 1 week. 35 the next. Then dropped to 15. There's no pattern. No consistency. No way for anyone to plan their life around this mess. They keep cutting my hours, Maria explains quietly. The manager says it's corporate policy. But she doesn't understand. The store is packed all the time. They're always short-staffed. It doesn't make sense. Marcus feels his jaw tighten. He knows the corporate policy on scheduling inside and out. This isn't it. Full-time employees are guaranteed stable hours. What he's looking at right now is deliberate manipulation. Someone's gaming the system. And when Maria asked about health insurance, the insurance that's supposed to kick in after 90 days, her voice cracks. The manager told her she wasn't eligible. Said her hours were too irregular. The picture becomes crystal clear, and it makes Marcus furious. But he keeps his cool. Stays in character. This doesn't sound right, he tells her carefully. Maria glances around nervously before leaning closer. There are others too, she whispers. Tommy in electronics. Sarah in cosmetics. Same problems for all of them. But the manager, Mr. Miller, he tells them if they don't like it, plenty of people would love to have their jobs. Brad Miller. Marcus remembers that name from the management files. Regional manager. Stellar performance reviews. No red flags anywhere in his record. At least none that made it up to corporate. Maria keeps talking, her voice dropping even lower. She needs this job. Her daughter's only 8 years old. Without that surgery, she can't even finish the sentence. Marcus watches as she pins that name badge back onto her uniform with trembling fingers. That little piece of silver represents everything to her. Her daughter's medical care. Their rent. Food on the table. Survival. And someone in this building is using that desperation as a weapon against her. She needs to go, Maria says, checking the time. Her shift ends at 11 tonight, but she's supposed to be back at 6 tomorrow morning for inventory. Mr. Miller scheduled her for a double shift, but somehow the computer only shows 8 hours of pay. As she limps away, Marcus notices she's favoring one leg, probably from years of standing on concrete without proper support. The company handbook clearly states that employees get anti-fatigue mats and ergonomic equipment, another policy that's apparently being ignored. He stands there alone, staring at that chaotic schedule board. Each crossed-out shift represents a family struggling. Each random hour cut means someone choosing between groceries or gas money. He built his entire company on one principle: take care of your people. But somewhere between the boardroom and this floor, that principle got destroyed. How deep does this go? And who else is suffering while he sits in his office, completely oblivious? The next morning, Marcus doesn't have to wait long to see how this system really works. He's watching from the break room when Maria clocks in at 6 sharp. She's moving carefully, that bad leg slowing her down, but her face shows determination. Whatever's happening at home, she showed up ready to work. At 6:47, Brad Miller comes out of his office. Brad's exactly what Marcus expected. Mid-30s. Hair gelled within an inch of its life. Walking with that swagger that comes from having just enough power to abuse it. He wears that manager badge like it's a weapon. And his eyes immediately lock onto Maria mopping near the electronics section. Santos. His voice cuts across the store like a whip. Maria's shoulders tense, but she keeps working. Santos, I'm talking to you. She finally looks up. Her face carefully blank. Yes, Mr. Miller. This floor is still dirty. What exactly have you been doing for the past hour? Marcus watches Maria's jaw tighten. The floor is spotless. He can literally see his reflection in those tiles. But she just nods. I'll go over it again. You better. And next time, maybe try actually working instead of feeling sorry for yourself. Brad's voice drips with contempt. Speaking of which, I need to see you in my office. No. Marcus feels his hands ball into fists. He forces himself to stay seated. Keep watching. If he blows his cover now, he won't understand the full scope of this nightmare. In Brad's office, Maria stands while Brad stays seated. Classic power move that makes Marcus' skin crawl. Through the glass partition, he watches Maria shrink with every word Brad throws at her. Tommy Chen, the electronics guy Maria mentioned, drops into the seat next to Marcus in the break room. Poor Maria, he mutters, shaking his head. 3rd time this week she's been dragged in there. What's he saying to her? Marcus asks. Tommy looks around nervously. Same thing he tells all of us. That we're lucky to have jobs. That people like us, he pauses, choosing his words carefully. People like us should be grateful for whatever hours we get. Immigrants. Single mothers. People who can't afford to quit. Brad knows exactly who he can push around. Through the glass, Marcus watches Brad lean back in his chair, radiating casual cruelty. Maria stands rigid, hands clasped behind her back like she's at military attention. Then Brad does something that makes Marcus see red. He pulls out Maria's timesheet and starts making changes with a red pen, right in front of her. Marcus can't hear the words, but he watches Maria's face crumple as Brad slashes through her recorded hours. He's cutting her time again, Tommy whispers. Probably claiming she took unauthorized breaks or something. Last week he docked Sarah 3 hours for excessive bathroom usage. She's pregnant. Marcus reaches for his phone. Finds the voice recorder app. Whatever's happening in that office, he needs proof. Brad's voice carries through the thin walls. Told you before, Santos. If you can't handle the workload without getting emotional, maybe this isn't the right job for you. Plenty of people would be grateful for your position. Please, Mr. Miller. Maria's voice is barely audible. I just need consistent hours. My daughter, your personal problems aren't my concern. What concerns me is that you've been talking to other employees about scheduling. That sounds like troublemaking. Marcus hits record. I wasn't making trouble. I was just what? Trying to organize some kind of complaint? Because that would be very unfortunate for your employment status. The threat couldn't be clearer. Maria goes silent. Now, I'm cutting you back to 12 hours next week. Maybe that'll help you focus on work instead of stirring up drama. And Santos, if I hear you've been talking to anyone else about scheduling or policies, we'll need to discuss whether you're a good fit for this company at all. Marcus watches Maria nod silently. Her dignity stripped away piece by piece. When she finally walks out of that office, her face is pale but composed. She passes the break room without looking in. Head held high despite everything. But Marcus has heard enough. The recording on his phone captures Brad's own words. A smoking gun showing the systematic abuse happening under his company's name. As Brad heads back to his office, whistling like he didn't just destroy someone's entire week, something crystallizes in Marcus. This isn't just about Maria anymore. This is about every vulnerable employee being ground down by tyrants like Brad Miller. Time to see how deep this corruption really goes. That evening, Marcus drives his rental car back to the budget hotel where he's been staying under his fake identity. Room 237 becomes mission control. Corporate reports and employee files spread across every surface. He's planning his next move. The recording plays back Brad's threats. Each word feels like evidence for a criminal case. But Marcus knows this is just scratching the surface. If Brad feels comfortable openly threatening employees, what's he doing when nobody's watching? He pulls up the store's employment records. What he finds makes him physically sick. Over the past 8 months, 60% turnover among hourly employees. The official reason? Voluntary resignation. But Marcus can read between those lines. People don't voluntarily leave jobs in this economy. They're being forced out. He cross-references the departure dates with Brad's performance reviews. The irony is almost funny. Brad's numbers look incredible. Labor costs down 23%. Efficiency ratings through the roof. 0 formal complaints filed with HR. On paper, Brad Miller is the perfect manager. But Marcus is starting to understand how Brad gamed the entire system. Keep employees desperate and scared. Prevent them from working enough hours to qualify for benefits. Make sure anyone who might complain simply vanishes from the roster. It's elegant in its cruelty. Marcus opens a new browser window and crafts his deeper cover story. Mike Henderson. Laid-off construction worker. Desperate for any job. No family. Just grateful for the opportunity. The exact kind of employee Brad would see as perfectly exploitable. He practices in the mirror. Adjusts his posture. His speech patterns. Even how he walks. Marcus grew up in neighborhoods like this before his business took off. He knows how to blend in. The key is remembering instead of acting. Next morning, Marcus returns to the store in worn jeans and secondhand work boots. He approaches Brad's office with the perfect mix of desperation and eagerness. "Excuse me, Mr. Miller. I heard you might have openings. I'm willing to work any shift. Any hours you need." Brad looks up from his computer, eyes immediately sizing up this new potential victim. Marcus can practically see the calculations running through his head. Another desperate worker to manipulate. "Experience?" Brad asks. "Construction mostly, but that dried up. I need steady work. I'm not picky about the job. Cleaning. Stocking. Whatever. You got references?" Marcus hands over a carefully crafted resume complete with fake references he arranged through contacts. "These guys will vouch for me. I show up. I work hard. I don't cause problems." Brad's smile is predatory. "I like that attitude. Tell you what, Mike. I can start you in custodial. Night shift. $12 an hour. You'll be working with Maria, but don't let her fill your head with complaints. She's got a tendency toward drama. The casual cruelty makes Marcus want to reach across that desk. But he forces himself to nod eagerly. That sounds perfect, sir. When do I start? Tonight. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And Mike. Brad leans forward. I reward loyalty and hard work. Employees who understand how things work here do well. Employees who cause trouble don't. Marcus nods like he understands perfectly. And he does. Just not in the way Brad intended. That evening, Marcus changes into his work clothes in the store bathroom. Transforms himself completely into Mike Henderson. Pins his temporary name tag to his shirt. The plastic feels foreign after years of expensive suits and boardroom meetings. When Maria arrives for the night shift, she looks surprised. You came back, she says quietly. Told you I needed the job, Marcus replies. Guess we're working together. Maria studies his face, perhaps sensing something different about this new employee, but unable to place what it is. Stick close to me tonight, she says finally. I'll show you the ropes. And Mike, everything I told you yesterday about being careful around Mr. Miller? Double that for the night shift. That's when he does his worst work. As the store lights dim and the last customers leave, Marcus feels the weight of what he's about to discover. Somewhere in the next 8 hours, he'll learn the full extent of Brad Miller's operation. He's no longer just observing the problem. He's about to live it. The store transforms after closing. What looked like normal retail during the day reveals its true nature under those fluorescent lights at night. Marcus follows Maria through her routine, learning the choreography of overnight custodial work. Within the first hour, he starts noticing things that make his blood pressure spike. Maria, why are you cleaning the employee break room with the same supplies you use for the bathrooms? He asks, watching her rinse a mop in a bucket that reeks of industrial disinfectant. She glances around nervously. Mr. Miller cut the cleaning supply budget. Says we're using too much. She holds up a nearly empty bottle of floor cleaner. This has to last the whole week for the entire store. Marcus knows the corporate allocation for cleaning supplies. This store should have 10 times what he's seeing. At 11:30, Brad makes his first appearance. He prowls through the aisles like a predator. His footsteps echo in the empty store. When he finds Maria restocking paper towels in the customer restrooms, his voice cuts through the silence. Santos, you're moving too slow. At this rate, you'll be here until morning. I'm working as fast as I can, Mr. Miller. Not fast enough. I'm docking 30 minutes from your timesheet for inefficiency. Marcus watches from behind a display rack as Brad pulls out his phone and makes a note. 30 minutes. $6 stolen right in front of his eyes. But it gets worse. At 1:15, Brad returns with a clipboard. Santos. Henderson. Come here. They gather in the main aisle as Brad consults his notes. Corporate's been asking questions about our labor costs. Starting next week, we're implementing some efficiency measures. He smiles like he's announcing bonuses. Instead of 2 people on night custodial, we're going back to 1. Maria's face goes pale. Mr. Miller, this is a 45,000 square foot store. One person can't. One person can and will. Maria, since you've been here longer, you keep the position. But you'll need to handle the full workload in the same time frame. Marcus does the math. What they're doing tonight with 2 people is already pushing human limits. Asking one person to do it all is physically impossible. If you can't handle it, Brad continues, I can always find someone who can. After Brad leaves, Maria slumps against a checkout counter. I can't do this whole store alone, she whispers. But if you complain, you'll lose the job entirely, Marcus finishes. She nods. Tears forming. My daughter's surgery is scheduled for next month. I need this insurance. That's when Marcus notices something that makes his investigative instincts flare. Brad left his office door slightly open. Through the gap, Marcus can see him at his computer typing rapidly. Maria, can you handle the East Wing by yourself for a few minutes? I want to check something. She looks confused but nods. Be careful, Mike. If he catches you snooping. Marcus moves silently toward the office. Through the crack in the door, he can see Brad's computer screen clearly. What he sees makes his hands shake with rage. Brad is logged into the employee scheduling system, systematically reducing hours for multiple employees. But he's not just cutting time. He's redistributing those hours to a phantom employee named B. Miller Jr. Brad is stealing hours from his workers and assigning them to a fake account. Probably his own son. Or just a way to pad his own overtime. Every hour he steals from Maria, from Tommy, from Sarah goes directly into his pocket. Marcus pulls out his phone and starts recording through the door crack. The evidence is right there on screen. Systematic wage theft happening in real time. But then he sees something even worse. Brad opens another program. The health insurance enrollment system. He pulls up Maria's file and changes her employment status from full-time eligible to part-time temporary, despite her working full-time hours for 3 years. With a few keystrokes, Brad just denied Maria the health coverage her daughter needs for surgery. Marcus feels rage so pure it takes everything in him not to burst through that door. But he forces himself to keep recording. Document every click, every theft, every casual destruction of a family's future. At 3 a.m., Brad emerges looking satisfied. Henderson, I need you to move all the pallets from the back room to the sales floor. By yourself. Marcus looks at the mountain of boxes. Easily a 4-person job. All of them? Problem with that? Because I can call someone who won't give me attitude. No problem, Marcus says through gritted teeth. As he begins the back-breaking work, moving hundreds of pounds of merchandise alone, Marcus understands something crucial. This isn't just about money for Brad. It's about power. The joy of watching people struggle. Of holding their lives in his hands and squeezing just to see them suffer. By 4 a.m., Marcus' back is screaming and his hands are raw. But he's gathered enough evidence to destroy Brad Miller's career 10 times over. Wage theft. Benefit fraud. Unsafe working conditions. Workplace harassment. A masterclass in how to violate every labor law on the books. But as dawn approaches and he watches Maria limp through her final tasks, barely able to stand after 10 hours of brutal work, Marcus realizes something that changes everything. This isn't just about Brad Miller anymore. This is about a system that allows predators like Brad to thrive while good people like Maria suffer in silence. And that system starts at the top. With him. Tomorrow it all comes to an end. But first, he needs one more piece of evidence. The smoking gun that will make his case unshakable. Marcus gets his opportunity at 5:30 a.m. Just as the night shift winds down, Brad disappears into his office for what he calls end-of-shift paperwork. Leaves Marcus and Maria to finish the final cleaning tasks. But Marcus noticed a pattern over the past few hours. Every 30 minutes, Brad's office phone rings with the same distinctive tone. 2 short bursts followed by one long one. Each time Brad answers in hushed tones. Speaks for exactly 3 to 4 minutes before hanging up. As Maria gathers cleaning supplies, Marcus makes his decision. I'm going to empty trash in the office area, he tells her. Maria looks concerned. Mr. Miller doesn't like anyone near his office when he's doing paperwork. I'll be quick. Marcus grabs a trash bin and pushes his cart toward the administrative area. The office hallway is dimly lit. Brad's office sits at the far end. Through the frosted glass, he can see Brad's silhouette hunched over his desk. Then the phone rings. 2 short bursts. One long. Marcus positions himself near the supply closet adjacent to Brad's office. Close enough to hear but hidden from view. He pulls out his phone and starts recording. Miller here, Brad answers. Voice low but audible through those thin walls. Yeah, I got your numbers for this week. Santos is down to 12 hours. Chen's at 15. The pregnant one, Sarah, I'm putting her on inventory duty. That'll make her quit within a month. Marcus' blood runs cold. Brad is reporting to someone about his systematic harassment of employees. No complaints filed. They're too scared to go to corporate. I've made sure of that. Brad chuckles. The beauty is corporate sees our labor costs dropping and thinks I'm some kind of efficiency genius. The voice on the other end is muffled, but Marcus can make out a question about documentation. Of course I'm covering my tracks. I've got fake performance reviews for all of them. Attitude problems. Reliability issues. You know the drill. If anyone ever asks, I've got a paper trail showing they deserved what they got. Marcus hears papers rustling as Brad pulls out files. Here's the beautiful part. I'm billing all their cut hours to my nephew's employee ID. Kid's making $800 a week and he's never set foot in the store. Corporate pays the wages to an account I control, and I just pocket the difference. The conversation continues. Brad detailing how he's been running this scheme across multiple stores. Not just this one. Every word captured on Marcus' phone. A complete confession to federal wage theft. Conspiracy. Fraud. But then Brad says something that pushes Marcus past his breaking point. The Santos woman is the perfect target. Single mother. Needs the insurance. Doesn't speak up. I could cut her to 0 hours and she'd still show up begging for work. Her kid needs some kind of heart surgery, so she'll take whatever abuse I dish out. The casual cruelty in Brad's voice. The way he speaks about Maria's desperation as entertainment. It pushes Marcus to his absolute limit. Yeah, I know the type. Brad continues. These people are grateful for scraps. Think they're lucky to have any job at all. Makes them real easy to control. Marcus hears Brad's chair creak as he leans back. Don't worry about exposure. Who's going to believe them? A bunch of immigrants and high school dropouts against a regional manager with stellar performance reviews. Corporate would laugh them out of the building. The call ends with Brad scheduling another check-in for next week. As Marcus hears the phone click into its cradle, he realizes he just recorded a complete confession. Not just to the crimes Brad is committing, but to his entire philosophy of exploitation. Marcus quickly backs away from the office. Heart pounding. He has everything he needs. The recorded calls. Computer screen footage of Brad manipulating timesheets. Photographic evidence of unsafe working conditions. And now this. Brad's own words proving premeditated, systematic abuse of vulnerable employees. As he rejoins Maria for the final cleaning tasks, Marcus notices she's moving even more slowly than usual. Her face is pale. She keeps pressing her hand to her chest. Maria, are you okay? Just tired, she says. But Marcus can see it's more than that. The stress. The physical demands. The constant fear. It's literally killing her. When was the last time you saw a doctor? Maria laughs bitterly. Doctors cost money. My insurance doesn't kick in until I work full-time for 90 days straight. But Mr. Miller makes sure that never happens. Marcus watches her struggle to lift a trash bag that weighs less than 30 pounds. This woman is working herself to death for a man who sees her suffering as entertainment. At 6 a.m. sharp, Brad emerges from his office with paperwork and a satisfied smile. Good work tonight, people. Santos, make sure you're here at 2 p.m. for inventory. Henderson, I might have some more shifts for you if you keep this up. As Brad walks away whistling, Marcus feels the weight of evidence on his phone. Tomorrow morning, he ends Brad Miller's reign of terror. But tonight, he has to watch Maria hobble to her car knowing she'll be back in 8 hours to face it all again. The smoking gun is loaded. Now it's time to fire. Marcus doesn't sleep that night. Spends the early morning hours in his hotel room organizing evidence and making phone calls. By 8 a.m., he's assembled a comprehensive file of Brad Miller's crimes, complete with recorded confessions, photographic evidence, financial documentation. But he's not just preparing a case. He's preparing for war. At 1:45 p.m., Marcus returns to the store as Mike Henderson one last time. He finds Maria in the break room trying to force down a peanut butter sandwich, despite obvious nausea. You sure you're okay? He asks, genuinely concerned. Just need to get through today, she whispers. Sophia's surgery got moved up to next week. I can't afford to miss any more hours. Marcus feels his resolve crystallize. This ends today. At 2 p.m. sharp, Brad gathers the afternoon shift for mandatory inventory training. About 15 employees stand in a semicircle near customer service. Maria, Tommy, Sarah, who's now visibly pregnant. Several others Marcus recognizes as victims of Brad's systematic abuse. All right, people, listen up, Brad announces. Voice carrying that authority of someone who enjoys wielding power over others. Corporate's breathing down our necks about inventory accuracy, so we're implementing some new procedures. He pulls out a clipboard thick with forms. From now on, any discrepancies come out of the responsible employee's paycheck. Lost merchandise, miscounts, damaged goods. It all gets deducted from your wages. Marcus sees several employees exchange worried glances. This is illegal under federal labor law. Brad knows it. I know some of you might think this is unfair, Brad continues, eyes finding Maria in the crowd. But maybe if certain people paid more attention to their work instead of worrying about personal problems, we wouldn't need these measures. The direct attack on Maria is the final straw. Marcus steps forward from the back of the group. Actually, Brad, I think there's something unfair here. But it's not what you think. Brad's eyes narrow. Henderson, you got something to say? Yeah, I do. Marcus reaches into his pocket and pulls out his phone. I've got quite a lot to say, actually. The first recording begins to play. Brad's voice crystal clear, boasting about cutting employees' hours and pocketing the difference. The effect is electric. Every employee in the circle turns to stare at Brad. His face goes from smug confidence to pale shock in seconds. What the hell is this? Brad sputters. This is you last night at 5:30 a.m. explaining to your accomplice how you've been stealing wages and manipulating schedules. Marcus' voice is calm, controlled, but every word hits like a hammer. The recording continues. The Santos woman is the perfect target. Single mother. Needs the insurance. Doesn't speak up. Maria's hand flies to her mouth. Around the circle, other employees begin to murmur, anger building in their voices. You recorded me illegally, Brad shouts. But his bluster can't hide the panic in his eyes. Actually, Michigan is a one-party consent state. Perfectly legal. Marcus steps closer to Brad. For the first time lets his real authority show through. But wage theft, benefit fraud, conspiracy to defraud, those are federal crimes. Brad's eyes dart around the circle of employees, all of whom are now looking at him with undisguised hatred. You don't know who you're messing with, Henderson. I'll have you arrested for what? Exposing the truth? Marcus reaches into his other pocket and pulls out something that makes Brad's blood drain from his face entirely. A gold badge. CEO, Thompson Enterprises. The silence that follows is deafening. Marcus can hear the hum of fluorescent lights, the distant sound of shopping carts, the sharp intake of breath from 15 employees who suddenly understand what they're witnessing. My name isn't Mike Henderson, Marcus says, voice carrying across the store. I'm Marcus Thompson. I own this company. And you, Brad Miller, are finished. The explosion of reactions is immediate. Gasps. Whispers. A few employees stepping back in shock. But Marcus keeps his eyes locked on Brad, whose face cycles through shock, fear, and settles into desperate anger. You can't do this, Brad screams. I've got rights. I've got a contract. You had a contract, Marcus corrects. But fraud voids all employment agreements. Security. 2 Thompson Enterprise security officers who've been positioned outside since 9 a.m. enter the store and approach Brad. Brad Miller, you're terminated effective immediately. You're also under investigation for wage theft, benefit fraud, and conspiracy. These officers will escort you from the premises. As security moves toward Brad, he makes one last desperate play. You can't prove anything. It's their word against mine. He points at the employees. Who's going to believe a bunch of... Careful, Marcus' voice cuts like ice. I've got your own recorded confession. I've got computer logs showing every illegal transaction. I've got photographic evidence of every violation. He steps closer to Brad, voice dropping to barely above a whisper. And I've got something else, Brad. I've got power. Real power. The kind you've been pretending to have. Brad's shoulders sag as the security officers reach him. This isn't over, he mutters. Yes, it is. Marcus turns to address the gathered employees. And for all of you, it's just beginning. As Brad gets escorted from the store, past customers who stop to stare, past checkout lanes he terrorized employees in, past the office where he orchestrated months of systematic abuse, Marcus feels a satisfaction deeper than any business deal he ever closed. But the real work is just starting. The silence after Brad's departure is deafening. 15 employees stand in a circle staring at their actual CEO, trying to process what just happened. Marcus can see confusion, relief, weariness battling across their faces. Maria is first to speak, voice barely a whisper. You're really the owner? I am. And I owe all of you an apology. Marcus looks each employee in the eye. I built this company on the principle that we take care of our people. But I failed you. I got so focused on boardroom numbers that I lost sight of what was happening on the ground. Tommy steps forward, still clutching his inventory clipboard. So what happens now? Are we all getting fired for talking to you? The question hits Marcus like a physical blow. These people are so conditioned to fear retaliation that even their liberation looks like a threat. Nobody's getting fired. In fact, we're going to fix everything Brad broke. Starting right now. Marcus pulls out his phone. I'm calling our head of HR. Every illegal hour cut. Every stolen wage. Every denied benefit. We're going to make it right. Within 20 minutes, Rebecca Chen, Thompson Enterprises Chief Human Resources Officer, arrives with a team of 3 specialists and a stack of laptops. Marcus has worked with Rebecca for 8 years. She's one of the few executives he trusts completely. Rebecca, I need you to conduct emergency audits on every employee file Brad Miller has touched in the past year. Full wage restoration. Immediate benefit enrollment for anyone who's been illegally denied coverage. Rebecca's team spreads out across the break room, setting up a temporary processing center. Maria Santos, Rebecca calls out, consulting her tablet. You've been here 3 years, correct? Maria nods nervously, still not quite believing this is real. According to Brad's records, you're classified as part-time temporary with no benefits, but your actual hours worked show you've been full-time for 34 months straight. Rebecca's fingers fly across her tablet. As of right now, you're classified as full-time permanent with complete health coverage retroactive to your original hire date. Maria's knees buckle. Marcus catches her arm as tears stream down her face. My daughter's surgery, she whispers. Fully covered. Pre-authorization will be processed today. Rebecca's voice is warm but efficient. And Maria, you're owed $14,847 in stolen wages and unpaid overtime. That check will be cut within 48 hours. The sound that escapes Maria's throat is part sob, part laugh, part prayer. Around the room, other employees are having similar conversations as Rebecca's team works through the files. But Marcus isn't finished. Everyone, I need you to listen carefully. He stands in the center of the room, voice carrying the authority of someone who built a billion-dollar company from nothing. What happened here can never happen again. So we're changing how this company operates. He gestures to Sarah, the pregnant cashier who's been hiding her condition in fear. Sarah, how far along are you? 7 months, she says quietly. Effective immediately. You're on paid administrative leave until after your maternity leave ends. Full salary, full benefits, and a guaranteed position when you're ready to return. Sarah's hand goes to her belly, eyes wide with disbelief. Marcus continues. Tommy, you mentioned wanting to move into management. How would you feel about assistant store manager? Tommy's clipboard clatters to the floor. Sarah, I don't have a college degree or... You have something better. You know what it's like to work every position in this store. And you care about the people who work here. That's what I need in management. But the biggest change is yet to come. Maria, Marcus says, turning to face the woman who unknowingly triggered this entire transformation. I have an offer for you. She looks up at him, eyes still red from crying, still struggling to believe her daughter will get the surgery she needs. I'm offering you the store manager position. The silence is absolute. Even Rebecca's team stops typing. Sir, Maria stammers. I clean floors. I don't know how to. You know how to work harder than anyone should have to. You know how to care about people even when you're being mistreated. You know every inch of this store and every challenge these employees face. Marcus' voice grows stronger. Maria, you've been managing your own impossible situation for 3 years. Managing a store will be easy by comparison. But I don't have experience. I'll provide training. Full management development program. Business courses. Whatever you need. Starting salary is $65,000 plus benefits, with performance bonuses tied to employee satisfaction, not just profit margins. Maria stares at him like he's speaking a foreign language. 65,000. That's just the starting point. Good managers who take care of their people get promoted to regional positions. Those pay 6 figures. Around the room, Marcus can see the transformation beginning. 15 people who walked in expecting another day of abuse are watching their lives change in real time. But the most important change is still to come. One more thing, Marcus announces. We're implementing an employee council at every Thompson Enterprise location. Representatives elected by workers with direct access to corporate leadership. No retaliation. No intimidation. No fear. If something like this ever starts happening again, you'll have a direct line to stop it. He pulls out a business card and hands it to Maria. This has my personal cell phone number. If anyone, manager, regional director, even another CEO, ever treats you or your team the way Brad did, you call me immediately. Tommy raises his hand tentatively. What about Brad? Does he just get away with this? Marcus's expression hardens. Brad's case has been forwarded to federal investigators. Wage theft is a felony. He'll face criminal charges. And will be pursuing civil litigation to recover every penny he stole. Not just from us, but from you. Rebecca looks up from her laptop. Speaking of which, Marcus, we've identified similar patterns at 4 other stores. Same methods. Different managers. Same response, Marcus says. Full investigations. Complete restitution. And anyone involved gets prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. His voice carries absolute commitment. We're not just fixing this store. We're fixing the entire company. As the afternoon wears on, Marcus watches 15 demoralized employees transform into something he's never seen before. A real team. People who'd been isolated by fear are now talking to each other, sharing stories, discovering they're not alone. Maria stands in the center of it all, still wearing her custodial uniform, but now carrying herself differently. The woman who'd been crying in a bathroom this morning is gone, replaced by someone beginning to understand her own worth. Thank you, she says to Marcus. Voice steady for the first time since he met her. Not just for the job or the money. For seeing us as people. Marcus feels a tightness in his chest. Thank you for reminding me what leadership actually means. As the sun sets over Detroit, Thompson's department store looks the same from the outside. But inside, everything has changed. And tomorrow the rail work begins. 3 weeks later, Marcus returns to the store for what he's privately started calling his reality check visits. The scene that greets him is almost unrecognizable from the place he infiltrated just a month before. The first thing he notices is the sound. Laughter coming from the employee break room. Real laughter. Not the nervous kind people make when they're afraid their boss might be listening. In the break room, he finds Tommy training 2 new hires on the inventory system. His natural leadership abilities finally given room to flourish. On the wall behind him hangs a framed certificate. Assistant Manager of the Month. Employee Choice Award. The key is accuracy, not speed, Tommy's explaining to the trainees. We'd rather you take your time and get it right than rush and make mistakes. Nobody's going to yell at you for being thorough. Marcus smiles at the indirect reference to the old regime. Under Brad, employees were terrorized into rushing, leading to errors that became excuses for further punishment. Near customer service, Sarah is helping a customer process a return. At 8 months pregnant, she's glowing with the confidence of someone who knows her job is secure regardless of her condition. The maternity leave policy Marcus implemented store-wide has already been adopted by 3 major competitors. A ripple effect he hadn't anticipated but deeply appreciates. But it's Maria who represents the most dramatic transformation. Marcus finds her in the store office bent over a laptop with focused intensity. She's traded her custodial uniform for business casual. Her nameplate now reads Maria Santos, store manager. But more importantly, she carries herself with authority that comes from genuine competence, not fear. How are the management courses going? Marcus asks, settling into the chair across from her desk. Challenging, Maria admits, saving her work and looking up with a smile. I never thought I'd be learning about profit margins and employee development strategies. But it's amazing what makes sense when you've actually worked every job in the building. She gestures to a chart on her wall showing employee satisfaction scores. The numbers skyrocketed from Brad's abysmal ratings to industry-leading levels in just 3 weeks. The team is incredible, Maria continues. Once people stopped being afraid, they started bringing me ideas. Tommy suggested cross-training everyone so nobody feels trapped in one department. Sarah designed a new customer feedback system. Even the part-time high school kids are contributing innovations. Marcus looks through the office window at the sales floor. He can see tangible results of Maria's leadership. Employees move with purpose rather than fear. Customers are actually smiling as they interact with staff who seem genuinely happy to help. "How's Sophia doing?" Marcus asks. Maria's entire face lights up. She had her surgery last week. Doctors say the repair was perfect. She'll be able to run and play like any other kid. Her voice catches slightly. "She wants to meet you. Calls you the man who saved Mommy's job." "I'd like that very much." "There's something else," Maria says, pulling out a folder. "Remember how you asked me to document any other situations like what happened with Brad?" Marcus leans forward, attention sharpening. "I've been talking to managers at other retail chains. Not officially. Just conversations at industry meetups. Maria, what Brad was doing, it's not uncommon. The wage theft, the benefit manipulation, the psychological abuse. It's almost like there's a playbook being passed around." She opens the folder, revealing a compilation of stories from workers across the retail sector. "I think Thompson Enterprise could lead industry-wide change, not just fixing our own problems, but setting a standard that forces everyone else to follow." Marcus feels that familiar electricity of a big idea taking shape. "What are you thinking? A certification program? Worker-verified fair employment or something like that? Stores that meet the standards get the certification. Customers can choose to shop at places that treat employees fairly, and the verification comes from the workers themselves, not corporate self-reporting." "Exactly. Anonymous surveys. Surprise audits. Real accountability." Maria's eyes are bright with passion. "We've got the credibility now. Everyone knows Thompson Enterprise was willing to investigate and fix its own problems publicly. Other companies would have to follow suit or look terrible by comparison." Marcus sits back, impressed by the strategic thinking. 6 months ago, Maria was afraid to ask for consistent hours. Now she's designing industry-wide reform initiatives. "Draft a proposal," he says. "Full business plan. Implementation strategy. Budget requirements. I want to see it within 2 weeks." Maria nods, already making notes. As Marcus prepares to leave, he takes one more walk through the store. Near the electronics section, he spots the bulletin board where Brad's chaotic scheduling once terrorized employees. Now it displays a clean, predictable schedule where every employee knows their hours weeks in advance, alongside photos from the store's first-ever employee appreciation picnic. At customer service, a familiar sight catches his eye. The same silver name badge that fell to the bathroom floor a month ago. But now it reads Maria Santos, store manager, pinned to a blazer instead of a custodial uniform. As he heads for the exit, Tommy calls out from behind the electronics counter. "Mr. Thompson, before you go, we wanted to give you something." Tommy produces a framed photo. The entire store team gathered around the new employee break room, which has been renovated with comfortable seating, a proper kitchenette, large windows that let in natural light. In the center of the group, Maria holds a small plaque that reads Thompson's Department Store Employee Choice Best Place to Work 2024. "It's not an official award," Tommy explains with a grin. "We made it ourselves. But we figured if anyone should decide whether a place is good to work, it should be the people who actually work there." Marcus accepts the photo, feeling unexpected tightness in his throat. In all his years of business success, no recognition has meant more. "Thank you," he says simply. "All of you." As he walks to his car, Marcus reflects on how profoundly the last month changed not just this store, but his entire understanding of leadership. He started this journey thinking he was rescuing his employees from a bad manager. Instead, they rescued him from becoming the kind of leader who loses sight of why businesses exist in the first place. To serve people, not just profits. Tomorrow he'll begin implementing the employee council system company-wide. Next month, Maria's industry certification program will get its full corporate backing. But tonight, he'll go home knowing that 15 people are sleeping better because someone finally listened when they needed help most. 6 months after that life-changing night shift, Marcus stands before a packed auditorium at the National Retail Federation's annual conference. The subject of his keynote address? Leadership from the ground up. What happens when CEOs stop hiding in boardrooms? But first, he has a story to tell. Last year, I thought I was running a successful company, Marcus begins, voice carrying across the silent auditorium. Our profits were up. Our efficiency ratings were stellar. Our management reviews were glowing. By every metric that mattered to Wall Street, Thompson Enterprises was crushing it. He clicks to the next slide. A photo of Maria in her custodial uniform, taken from the store's security footage on that first night. But I wasn't leading a successful company. I was presiding over a system that allowed good people to suffer while predators profited from their pain. And the worst part? I had no idea it was happening. The auditorium remains completely silent as Marcus walks the audience through his undercover experience. The wage theft, the benefit fraud, the systematic psychological abuse happening under his own company's name. The truth is, real leadership isn't about commanding from above. It's about understanding from below. It's about recognizing that the people closest to the problem are usually closest to the solution. He clicks again. The new slide shows Maria at her desk wearing her store manager blazer, reviewing quarterly reports with her team. Today, Maria Santos manages one of our highest performing locations. Employee satisfaction is at an industry-leading 94%. Customer ratings have increased 47%. And profits? They're up 23%. Because when you treat people right, everything else follows. Marcus gestures to the audience where Maria sits in the front row representing Thompson Enterprise at her first national conference. But this story isn't really about Thompson Enterprises. It's about every company, every leader, every person who has the power to make someone else's day better or worse. The presentation continues with concrete results. The worker-verified fair employment certification that 12 major retailers have already adopted. The industry-wide wage theft investigations that recovered $2.3 million for workers. The federal legislation strengthening labor protections that was inspired by their public disclosure. We've proven that doing right by employees isn't just morally correct. It's profitable. Companies with worker-verified certification are seeing average profit increases of 18% and customer loyalty improvements of 31%. As Marcus concludes his presentation, he returns to the personal story that started it all. 6 months ago, I heard someone crying in a bathroom and decided to investigate. That moment of basic human curiosity changed everything. Not just for Maria. Not just for Thompson Enterprise. But for thousands of workers across the industry. He pauses, looking directly into the cameras broadcasting this keynote live. So here's my challenge to every leader watching this. When was the last time you really listened to the people who work for you? Not in a scripted meeting or a sanitized survey, but really listened. When did you last see your workplace through the eyes of someone who can't afford to lose their job? Marcus steps closer to the edge of the stage. Real leadership means lifting others up, especially when nobody's watching. It means using your power to protect people, not profit from their vulnerability. And it means having the courage to admit when your systems are broken and the determination to fix them. The final slide appears. A photo of the Thompson Enterprise Employee Council. Representatives from all 47 stores gathered around a table as equals. The person crying in that bathroom could be in your company right now. The question is, will you hear them? And more importantly, will you act? As applause thunders through the auditorium, Marcus feels the same satisfaction he experienced that night when Brad Miller was escorted from the store. But deeper than satisfaction is something else. Purpose. After the presentation, as Marcus signs copies of the Harvard Business School case study written about the Thompson transformation, a young executive approaches him. Mr. Thompson, I think we might have some issues at our company that are similar to what you found. Where do I start? Marcus hands him Maria's business card. Start by listening. Really listening. And when you hear something you don't like, don't rationalize it away. Fix it. Later that evening, Marcus calls the store to check in with Maria. A ritual that's become part of his weekly routine. How's Sophia doing? He asks. Perfect. Her cardiologist says her heart is stronger than most kids her age. She's been asking when she can visit the store again. Wants to see Mama's office. Bring her by any time. I'd love to meet the little girl who helped save our company. Marcus, Maria's voice grows serious. I got a call today from a custodial worker at Henderson Retail. She'd seen the news coverage and wanted to know if our employee council model could work at other companies. What did you tell her? I told her to document everything. Find allies among her coworkers. And that we'd help her build a case if she needed it. Was that okay? Marcus smiles. That was perfect. You're thinking like a real leader now. After hanging up, Marcus stands at his office window looking out at the Detroit skyline. Somewhere out there, in retail stores and restaurants and warehouses, there are probably other Marias. Good people trapped in bad situations, waiting for someone with power to notice their pain. But now there are also other Marcus Thompsons. Leaders who heard this story and decided to look more closely at their own companies, their own responsibilities. Change is spreading, one workplace at a time. And it all started with someone brave enough to knock on a bathroom door and ask a simple question. Are you okay? The truth had been worse than anyone imagined. But the solution was simpler than anyone expected. Treat people like human beings. And everything else falls into place. If you've ever witnessed injustice in your workplace, or if you're in a position to make change happen, don't look away. That person crying in the bathroom might be waiting for you to knock on that door. Will you have the courage to ask if they're okay? And more importantly, will you have the courage to actually do something about it? Because real change doesn't start with policies or programs. It starts with one person deciding that another person's suffering matters enough to act. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe because there are more stories like this that need to be told. Stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things when someone finally gives them a chance. Thanks for watching. Now, go be the leader someone is waiting for.